Hello, 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 ladies and gentlemen. We are live with another explosive episode, the 13th episode of The Fifth Dimension. And for the 13th episode, I had to get a very special guest, a very special friend of mine, to be here for a dive deep within the darkness. He needs no introduction, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Everyone, please welcome Mr. Benjamin Diskin. How are you doing today, sir?
Time stop. Be gone. Don't blink. And other such hits. Hey, how you doing?
I'm gonna tell you guys right now, I did not put him up to do that in any way, shape, or form. Yeah,
He lied. He has me trapped in his closet. That's where I'm recording from. He told me he'd let me go, but I just said the words. Help! Call the police!
Please don't. Like that. Like I don't. I actually don't need that. Oh my goodness.
It's a joke. It's a joke. Do not swat him, please. It's a joke.
Oh
I'm
my
fine.
god. That will be the worst thing. But how are you doing, Ben? How are you?
You know, I'm hanging in there. Quarantine is what it is. But I'm pulling through. I'm not losing all of my marbles, just about 2/3 of them, so it's okay.
Man,
how about yourself, man?
Oof, I've been hearing that. I've been good for myself. I mean, luckily, you know, there's something I feel that we're kind of like kindred spirits in which we have the ability to work from home, but still, I miss seeing the sun, you know, and
yeah. Yeah, I'm slowly becoming a vampire, and not in like the cool or pretty boy, sparkly in the sun way. I walk outside and I instantly burn to a crisp kind of way.
Man, I need the clouds to part. I need to see the sunshine on my face. But yeah, for those who are unaware, for those very select few who are unaware about the great works of Benjamin Diskin, of course you probably already know him most notably within the Kingdom Hearts community as young Xehanort, but he does a other huge amount of roles, which include very recently the newest Mega Man. He is also Haida from Agretzko. He is also Jack from Beastars. I am gonna butcher this name.
Go for it.
Shiro, right? Shiro from DNA, Beast New Animals. Was it?
Brand New Animal.
That's close enough. Brand New Animals. And among other things, and I saw people in the chat already saying that yes, he also is #1 from Kids Next Door, codename Kids Next Door, along with #2, which is what I like to call Range.
Oh, thank you.
Like, no, it's funny because every time I bring up that story, people are like, "Oh yeah, I definitely hear Benjamin Diskin in #1." I'm like, "Did you also know he was #2?" And they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, man, yeah, you'd be surprised."
We hop around, us voice actors. We're a weird bunch.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely believe you have such crazy range because I mean I see you as, you know, young Xehanort going with that dark, deep, brooding voice, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, this guy was #2," and you're Gonzo. So
yeah, on Muppet Babies.
Yeah, Muppet Babies, which you did win. There's Annie Award.
Oh no, I won an Emmy for it.
Emmy. Oh my goodness,
yeah.
See, there's so many awards you have to understand. I butcher it.
That's okay.
I'm going offline, guys. It's over. I'm done.
Honestly, all anybody does with that is just tease me mercilessly. So don't worry about it if you get it wrong. It's totally fine. Oh, why? Mm-hmm. Oh, because I'm really, really hard on myself, and so I don't think I deserve anything. And when I got that, I went, "Oh no, now I have to live up to something. Oh God!" And so now everybody goes, "Emmy Award." I'm like, "Please stop doing that, Jesus freaking Christ!" So that is what that is. So yeah,
every time I feel someone leads you in, it's like, "Everyone, please welcome Emmy Award winner."
No, no. I would rather be introduced as giant pile of shit Ben Diskin. I'd be like, "That's me! Hi! Hello!"
Oh, that's crazy. Before we get right into the spiel of things, because I know I have you for a very limited time, one thing I did promise that I was going to go over is how I was able to, the real story of how I was able to get you onto the Fifth Dimension. And no, he's definitely not trapped in my closet and I've just given him, one of my outside microphones. No, so, Ben and I have known each other for quite a while now, to the point where I would like to consider us friends. But
we are definitely the online acquaintance at that level for sure. To the point where I felt comfortable just like bothering him on Twitter. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, awesome. So, out of nowhere, because a lot of people on my streams, they've been asking, it's like, oh, can you get Ben on? Can you get Ben on? I'm like, bro, guys, I don't want to bother Ben. I don't there's boundaries and stuff. And then a couple of episodes ago, this man messages me on Twitter. It's like, all right, so what's the fifth dimension? And I'm like, oh, here we go. So I give him, I just throw like 5 paragraphs at him, explaining what the fifth dimension is. And then I'm like, by the way, I got some fans that would really like you on the show. And then he's like, no problem. And that's it.
Yeah,
and
that's how,
literally it.
If anybody's wondering, like, how did you ever get Ben on? It's usually like, I asked him on Twitter and he said, okay. That's always the story.
Yo, is that what I sound like to you?
No! That's what everybody who is just sick and tired of answering that question sounds like.
Right. Okay, so now that I got that story out of the way, of course, a big portion of the stream is going to be considering me talking to Benjamin Diskin about Kingdom Hearts, because the last time I talked to him, along with Dean, was on the Kiki stream before Kingdom Hearts 3 came out. Now Kingdom Hearts 3 is out, so now I get to pick your brain for everything that I can.
Absolutely.
Why is my, my background is kind of frozen? Why? Hold on.
Is it supposed to be moving? Oh.
Yeah, it's supposed to be moving.
Oh. Hello.
Huh. It's like, it stopped. Why?
This is how you guys know this is live. Whenever you see technical problems, you know it's real.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, I see it. There you go. Usually, sometimes it does this where it's just like, oh, it just decides to stop. Okay, so when it comes to Kingdom Hearts 3 specifically and your role as young Xehanort, I actually thought about this yesterday, and it hit me like a brick that I want to really bring up to you. And I'm sure you've noticed, but I don't think a lot of people truly understand this here. In the most technical sense, you are the first new voice line ever for Kingdom Hearts 3. Because you voiced young Xehanort in the 2015 trailer. And that was the first ever new line we've heard for Kingdom Hearts 3 ever.
True thing. That is very true. I didn't even think about that. But yeah, because we did that in, like you said, 2015. A good solid 3 years before it actually came out. Yeah.
So, I want, if you're able to add, because we went to the whole spiel before we went live, I want to ask, if it's possible, how did that whole come about? Because I've talked with many voice actors before, and in your specific case, how did that come about? Where it's like, they called upon you, Ben, we're gonna need you to voice young Xehanort for a Kingdom Hearts 3 trailer. Are you able to speak on any type of instance relating to that?
Sure. Okay. So this was, like you said, this was back in 2015. We had done Dream Drop Distance in 2012, so like a good 3 years had passed. And by the way, guys, they don't tell us actors anything. That's practically part of the. Yeah.
Yes. Oh? No, I was gonna say, if you guys need to understand that, because like I've had questions like, it's like, yo, see if you could just squeeze any information out of Ben, and I'm like, that's not how it works. That's not how it works.
It's like practically designed to keep us quiet. That's basically how this works. So like I didn't know anything. I was like, oh my gosh, Kingdom Hearts 3. I guess it's like practically done. And we're gonna start recording a trailer for this almost completed game, and then we're gonna do the voices, and then it'll be out in like 7 months. Little bit off, just a smidge.
Just a little bit.
Just a couple centuries off. But anyway, so what they did was, they had us recording this stuff, and they purposefully, especially with a game like this, give us almost nothing to work on other than like direction, like tweak this line a little bit. Hit this word, but don't hit this word. And there's no explanation for why, and it's precisely so that we cannot accidentally spoil Jack. So for the trailer, they played me my reference voice so I could get back into the voice. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I think I remember this. And then we started recording it, and then they started talking. They said, actually, can you like raise the pitch of the voice just a little bit? I'm like, okay.
That's big brain. We all know why now. Like,
yeah, exactly. It's like, turns out it's young Xehanort. They didn't tell me that. So I'm just like, oh, okay. So I'm doing the wrong voice, and everybody is going to hate me for this. They're all going to blame me and be like, wow, Ben, thanks. Couldn't even be bothered to give 2 shits to get the voice right, you piece of garbage. And then it turned out he was like a younger version. I'm like,
Lord, okay.
Guys, you could have just told me that. That wouldn't have affected. I wouldn't have been able to spoil anything with that. Come on. That's how secretive they are with this. So, good luck squeezing anything out of me, bro. I got nothing to squeeze.
That's not the intent tonight. Ooh. But I do want to, like, when it comes to young Xehanort, because we're going to be talking about this for a good minute, I just really want to pick your brain. And, of course, you're probably going to end up, answering a question in a very similar fashion that I've asked you before, because, we have new blood here. A lot of time has passed and stuff. So when it comes to the origins of young Xehanort, as we all know, Dream Drop Distance technically wasn't his first game. His first game was Birth by Sleep, where we see him a shot from the back, where we see him in the beginning of the game, and then you see him grow up to be Master Xehanort and whatnot. And at that point in time, young Xehanort was actually voiced by David Gallagher, and who was the voice of Raikou. But then along comes Dream Drop Distance and our boy Benjamin Diskin. And I just want to kind of ask a little bit, pick your brain for that whole situation. When coming up with the voice of young Xehanort, possibly using what David did as a reference, how'd you go about, formulating the voice of what they needed you to, speak like in Dream Drop Distance when it came from going from David Gallagher to you?
Right. So, what I heard through the grapevine, so I don't take this with a bit of a grain of salt, is that the reason they replaced David Gallagher for this role was it just sounded a little too similar to Raikou, and they were like, but people might have different, trouble figuring out the characters apart because they both have silver hair, they both sound really similar, so it's like, and that's why they wound up going with a different actor for it. But what got me the role was that I never auditioned for Kingdom Hearts, ever. Instead, what happened was I auditioned for Final Fantasy Type 0, and for all of the characters in that, the way they have you do things now, rather than signing a non-disclosure agreement in order to audition for anything, you vocally sign a non-disclosure agreement as part of your audition. So it'll be something along the lines of, hi, my name is Ben Diskin, I have read and agreed to the non-disclosure agreement, and I'm auditioning for the role of Steve, and then go into Steve's lines, and that's your audition file that you submit. So, what happened was I completely and totally botched the slate thing, the whole NDA thing, and I was auditioning for 10 different characters in that game, and I was like, oh no, oh god, I've got to go and re-record all of these different slates and all of this, So I just said, you know what, I'm going to record once, and then I'm going to leave, I'm just going to list every single name I did and just edit each one into the beginning of every single file and then send those in. So it was something like, hi, my name is Ben Diskin. I've read and agreed to the non-disclosure agreement, and I'm auditioning for the role of Ace, Josh, Steve, Bowser, Skippy, whatever the character. And they all used code names too, so none of those were whatever.
Right.
And then I put them in, and I sent it off, and I totally forgot about it, and I didn't book any character in that game. So anyway, they just hire me, seemingly sight unseen, and have me come in, and they go, yeah, you did this audition for this other game that we really liked. And I'm like, oh, okay. So they started playing me the audition file for one of the characters. I think it was Ace. And they just kept stopping right after the non-disclosure thing. And I'm like, okay, but where's the rest of the audition? They said, no. That's what we want. We want you to just do that voice that you did at the beginning of all those. So I was basically hired sight unseen based on a slate for a completely different game. So didn't have to worry about David Gallagher and matching his voice or anything. They just liked me going, oh, Jesus Christ, I gotta record this a million times. Okay. Hi, my name is Ben Diskin, blah, 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 blah. And they're like, yeah, he sounds dead inside. That's kind of what we want. Perfect. And then that's how I got the role. So there you go.
That is insane. And I've heard the story before, but with new flair. But that remembering that story kind of throws my next question out the window, but I'm just gonna go for it. And
ask it anyway.
I feel that, with voice acting, it's I would say, a constant evolving journey where, at first, maybe voice directors will okay, I like this, but then as you go on within a game or the games, the voice gets more, I don't want to say matured, but refined, if you get what I'm trying to say, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So in that sense, obviously they got you for another character that wasn't related to David Gallagher or young Xehanort. But I want to know, as time went on with your voice work in Dream Drop Distance, and that small tidbit you did in the Recoded re-release and in Kingdom Hearts 3, did you feel the need to, not truly, I would say, influence your voice, but try to, you know, fit the description of Xehanort as a character, because as we all know, Xehanort has, you know, many selves, tons of selves, and young Xehanort is actually the latest in the line of what we see in the games. Obviously, we started with Ansem, the Secret of Darkness, who was voiced originally by Billy Zane, but then got voiced by Richard Epcar, and then we have Xemnas, who is the Nobody, voiced by Paul St. Peter, and then we have Master Xehanort, who was voiced by Leonard Nimoy and Rutger Hauer, and now Christopher Lee. Wait, Christopher Lee, right? Yes. Did you at any point in your career, as young Xehanort specifically, feel that you had to, you know, embrace the darkness of those other characters to fit in line of that, you know, timeline of, you know, the character's own life within the games?
Interestingly, no. So, what we did for young Xehanort is, because of where his character is in his life, he's kind of, sort of, how can I best describe this? Without sounding too Kingdom Heartsy, he's had the light snuffed out of him, basically. He's not a zombie, but he's just sort of really disappointed and disillusioned with everything that he has seen in his life. And that's kind of what they were going for. So it's not necessarily that he's just pure evil, it's that he's just so sick and tired of all the freaking light, and there's no joy in him. But for the younger version, when he's like playing chess, that's a different iteration of him. This is like kind of, while he still has like a legit personality and feelings. And so playing the younger version of him was actually kind of trickier, because we had to go, all right, for the trailer, we have to know that this is the bad guy. But then when we started incorporating it into the rest of Kingdom Hearts 3 as a whole, it's like, he's laughing, he's having a good time, he's talking with somebody he's actually friends with. It's not like frenemies, like they're buddies. And it has to have that feeling. You have to feel like he actually has a soul. So really the tricky thing is finding a bit of light within the character that has truly succumbed to darkness the most in the series.
Oh, that is so poetic, man. I do want to make a quick addendum, guys. I did mess up. It's not Christopher Lee who voiced Master Xehanort. He voiced Ansem the Wise in Kingdom Hearts 2. Christopher Lloyd, that's who we're trying to get. I apologize for that.
Marty!
Yeah.
Marty! We're gonna go back in time!
So, off that specific tangent, I do want to say, like, you know, we're talking about the other voice actors within Kingdom Hearts when it comes to relating to young Xehanort. So I do want to go off that little bit of a tangent, which I like to call the small world of Kingdom Hearts. And, of course, you don't only voice young Xehanort, even though a lot of people here, you know, they know your many voice roles. But another huge voice role that you've done was that of young Joseph Joestar in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 2 Battle Tendency, right?
Yeah.
And another connection, which I find incredibly funny, is that Old Man Joseph, which is in Part 3 and in Part 4, is voiced by Richard Epcar, which I find hilarious. I'm like, wow, it's like the same kind of line of events where we have a young Xehanort, and then Ansem, the Secret of Darkness, is, you know, he was developed to be, you know, Xehanort in his 30s, in his prime. And then, you know, we have Benjamin Diskin, you know, growing older to become Richard Epcar in both, you know, Kingdom Hearts and in JoJo's. And I just find that incredibly funny. That was something I just wanted to point out. But when it comes to the voice role of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Joseph Joestar, how did you come up with that? And, you know, this is a question I kind of saved for young Xehanort, but it got thrown out of the window thanks to your story. But for this one specifically, did you feel like you had to, you know, take any inspiration or influence from the Japanese voice actor that voiced Joseph before you for Battle Tendency?
So everybody's different and every director's different. So some projects, the goal is to get as close to the Japanese performance and voice as possible. But for a lot of it, it's because it's localization. So it's about making things sound like they make sense for a Western audience. What they do is they basically just say, we're just going to cast this based on what we think Americans and Western audience people in general would like to see and hear. So for Joseph, really, it's just my voice a little bit deeper and with a British accent. So it's basically just if number one from Kids Next Door grew up. And even then, we were kind of going back and forth on whether to even do accents for the show or not, especially considering that like Part 3 and most of it beyond takes place in Japan, and we're not going to have a bunch of people doing Japanese accents to show that they're in Japan, so it gets kind of a little bit confusing. But we wound up doing that for part 2 and for part 1 as well, and it was also a different company recording. I believe it was Warner Brothers that did those dubs. And so, yeah, really the voice for that character wasn't necessarily inspired by Sugita, who's the Japanese guy, the voice of Joseph from part 2, but just sort of my own take on what I thought would sound good coming out of the character's mouth. And I guess the casting director agreed, and that's all that it really is.
And that's what I like to call a rap. Now, when it comes to another aspect, which is it's honestly become a meme, and I had to bring this up for the stream, is that another aspect when it comes to the small world of Kingdom Hearts is a very, I would say now, a very iconic scene that puts you, once again, I should say, you were reunited with Drake Bell for Kingdom Hearts 3, and I think you kind of know where I'm getting at when it comes to this. When Benjamin Diskin actually cameoed in Drake and Josh, where he gave Josh a bunch of video games and that he was going to join a cult and shave his head. And then many years later, we have him voicing Xehanort, who evidently shaves his head in his old age. And I'm like, okay, there's some darkness at work here. There is some darkness at work.
I traveled down the dark road, and this is where I wound up. That's what it was. That's actually the plot of Dark Road, is how Ben wound up being in Drake and Josh. That's actually going to be how it all ends.
You know, every time you just turn on the young Xehanort voice, my brain goes to jelly. I'm like, oh wait, I'm supposed to be running this stream. Like, you can't be doing that. You can't be doing this to me, Ben. So, like, since you want to play around like that, and we're gonna go back to young Xehanort. Now, here's something that I always really felt enamored with when it comes to voice acting, not only just in, you know, voicing a character, but fighting a character, because of course young Xehanort is a very vicious fighter and a very vicious boss within the Kingdom Hearts series. Specifically when it comes to Kingdom Hearts 3, we do fight young Xehanort as part of the North Court fight at the end of the game over in the Keyblade Graveyard. But then evidently, with the release of Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind, young Xehanort was brought back through the advent of data battles. And you did I want to assume that you recorded new lines, because of course there were lines that were not present within the North Court fight. And I just wanted to know, first off, how did that whole situation come about when they need you to, you know, they need to get you back to voice Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind? Did you expect to have more voice lines after the end of Kingdom Hearts 3, you know, the obvious demise of Xehanort? Or were you kind of expecting, it's like, okay, we're going to do like a final mix type deal?
Yeah, I was just expecting, like, when they called me back, I figured, oh, I guess it's just going to be battle lines. You know, like they want me to do some new stuff, and that's really all it's going to be. Because, yeah, like, I mean, it's kind of Kingdom Hearts tradition at this point to have, like, the data battles ever since 2. And possibly 1, but maybe I'm thinking of Final Mix, I'm not sure. But, yeah, no, I just thought it was that. And then it turns out, no, there's, like, a whole bunch of extra lines for the DLC indicating that he met the Master of Masters and knows what his name is and stuff like that. And
so
I'm
what's
just
his name, Ben?
I can't tell you, but I actually do know.
You're lying!
I'm not lying. Uh-oh. Did something happen?
Yeah, you actually... No, I'm here.
Oh,
I'm here. You actually had to... You know what? It's fine, Ben. You did this to yourself. You did this to yourself. Whatever happens to your Twitter account after this is not my fault. All right. Continue.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah. So anyway. Yeah. Like, because I have a phone open so I can like see the chat, and it just said the broadcast you were watching has ended right when I said that. So I'm like,
you're
oh
lying.
no.
Oh, wait, really? Hold on.
Did I crash it? Yeah.
Oh no. To me, it's still fine. Okay.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Yeah, so no, I do know what his name is. But not that, like, honestly, even if I told you, you wouldn't be like, oh, this must be, it's not right, like it's going to lead into any shocking
revelation. You know, I want to assume that it might even be a placeholder name or something. No, we're not having this conversation. Continue.
Okay.
All right.
But yeah, so yeah, they brought me in, they have me have this whole conversation with Ray. I mean, with the Master of Masters, I always just call him Ray Chase. Anyway, right. Yeah, we did that, and it was interesting because they kind of really just trusted me for that scene. Like, there was not a ton of oversight from Japan on that particular performance. So I hope that I did a good job, but there's a part of me that's like, well, I mean, I guess if they had any corrections, they would have had me come back in and fix stuff. But a lot of the time when I'm recording those lines, it's me trying to make sense of my own dialogue and hoping that it sounds right. So like somebody sent me a question on Twitter a while ago, and it's he was saying like, hey, there was this line in Kingdom Hearts 3 where you kind of seemed almost like you were trying to help Sora. What was up with that? And like the truth is like, it was just me going, maybe my guy isn't so bad, and they didn't say no, so that's why it sounds that way. So like a lot of times, if you ever read stuff into our performances, just do yourself a favor and don't. You are probably going to be misled because sometimes those things slip in, and that's what that was.
All right, guys, my career is over. All those theories just in the trash. It's all in the trash now. Ben has just destroyed everything, burned it all today. But I kind of figured that, you know, like with the voice line, like when it comes to characters, I feel that, you know, voice actors do get, you know, a bit of a liberty when, you know, portraying these characters. So that's why, you know, for most of the time I look into what the character actually says instead of the way the character says it. But you know, when you have such a great voice actor like Benjamin Diskin, it's hard for me to separate the two, you know what I mean? But man, nah, yo, Ben's just probably tired of me like blowing up his Twitter and buttering him up for the stream. Speaking of buttering, you know, ever since he told me about buttery nipples, me and my fiance have not been able to like we've become basically addicted to them. And I'm like, this is what you've done, Ben. Thanks.
They're so good though. They're so sugary.
Oh man, they're really good. They're really good. Next time you get the chance, try a Baby Guinness.
Guys, in the chat, it's a drink. It's an alcoholic beverage. That's what that is. That's what we're talking about.
Oh man, people were like, context. I'm like, guys,
yeah, like what? Why are they talking about buttery nipples and why is Ben groaning? What kind of stream have I turned into? Oh my god!
I don't need. You know, Heather tracking me down and just like, you know, choking the life out of me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
We found HMK hanging by his own beard.
My beard's not. Oh man, my beard's not long enough. Maybe at one point, but you know, I'm trying to channel my inner Xehanort at that point. But going off the tangent when it comes to like, you know, voice lines, battle lines, and stuff. I already know you're no stranger to that kind of, you know, voice work because, you know. Not every character does battle lines. Not every character, you know, does like grunts, pain, you know, yelling and stuff. But for young Xehanort specifically, you know, when it comes to obviously you get voice direction, but when it comes to manifesting, you know, his inner battle might and his battle quotes and all that stuff, you know, do you seek any other inspiration from your other roles that you've done before in your long history of, you know, voicing characters, especially for video games or anime or TV shows? Or, you know, did you try to find something new when you voiced, you know, young Xehanort in battle?
Most of the time, I'm just focused on the character that I'm dealing with at the time. The only exceptions will be, like, if I see a line of dialogue and I'm like, I wonder if I can sneak a reference to something in there and nobody will get mad at me, then I'll do something like that. So, like, I'm in a game called Fire Emblem Three Houses. I play Caspar and Lawrence.
I was about to bring that up.
Caspar's,
we'll get to that later.
Oh, well, anyway, here's the thing. It's just to ruin your day and make you ask a bunch of, like, rewrite all your questions. Caspar at one point says, well, excuse me, to somebody, and I had to sneak in a, well, excuse me.
I picked up on that. Like,
yep. Yeah, so that is totally a reference, and like nobody got mad, and I'm like, but other than that, I don't really tend to like focus on like, I did this similar thing on this other game. It's really just like, all right, who is this character? What should he sound like? So for instance, Xehanort or young Xehanort really doesn't emote a lot, and he definitely doesn't project a lot. So even for his like attack sounds, they can't be like a big loud like blow your eardrums out type thing. Right. That's closer to maybe Ansem at times, but young Xehanort is just like just simple things like that. Time stop, and that's it, because that's who he is. So now it's a character by character basis, not too much influence from other guys. But I assume that if I said yes, that might have helped you segue into a different question. So let's just say yes.
No. It was not really a segue. I was like legitimately, wondering that because I get so like infatuated with how voice actors bring these characters to life in like in the heat of the moment type things, because I feel like it's a different perspective when I'm like sitting watching a cutscene and just Woody roast the shit out of you, and then it's like when you actually fight young Xehanort, it's like it's a different experience, it's a different feel, so that's why I really want to get down and dirty with that.
So hey, speaking of that, how does everybody feel who's playing Dark Road, who knows how horrible my childhood was, for a damn toy to start getting mad at me and saying, no one ever loved you? Jesus Christ. Yeah, do you guys feel good? Yeah, you were all making fun of me for back then. Now you know about the pain I went through. It's mean. I'm never going to watch Toy Story the same way again.
Oh my god, there's so many views behind that, dude, where I'm like, I made a video on that today specifically. And
really?
yeah, and this one dude's hit me up with that meme, the meme with the guy who's like, he feel like he has a face where he's like not bothered by anything, but it's really just a mask, and under the mask he's just sobbing and stuff.
Oh, I know
and
that
it's like
meme.
young Xehanort right now when Woody was ripping him a new one. But one thing I always wondered, and this is this is gonna be a very similar question that I asked Paul St. Peter not too long ago. Well, not too long ago, but I mean like some odd years ago. I asked him this question, but I wanted to ask it to you. How often do you get the chance to interact? Because I mean, the way he told to me was that when you voice a character, sometimes they put you in like a bust shot where they like make sure they have the camera on your face in order to like, I guess record your expressions, your lips, and in order to help with lip syncing in the game if they decide to do so and whatnot. Yep. And it's not a lot where you guys really interact with each other when it comes to line delivery and receiving. Was that the same case for you, or did you have moments where you all did like co-recording within like the same area or relatively close to each other, where you're able to read off the expression of the people that you're trying to voice your line to, receive, and then give back, whatnot?
So for nearly every video game out there that's has voiceover in it, they're all single recording. And the reason being, the scheduling to make that happen would be such a nightmare that it would take like years to get anything done. So yeah, so basically the answer is no. We are super reliant on whoever is directing us to have in their head what they think the final scene should be, and get us both in the same direction so that we really sound like we're talking to each other. Otherwise, it's I mean like there are times where like us not being in the same room I think really helps. So like for instance, the scene in Remind with me and and the Master of Masters, I keep wanting to say Ray Chase, is like Ray plays that character as this like all the time, right. And like my guy is like Mr. freaking Deadpan, and so like honestly, if I were in the same room with that, like I would start playing off of his energy, and so suddenly it would start sounding like young Xehanort going like, "Hey guys, what's going on? It's me, your boy." Like, and it would just be weird, and so I'm like, I'm kind of glad that we do that stuff separately, so that I can just stay like, no, I have no reaction to the insane person I'm sitting next to. So yeah, but like no, we do this all separate, and yeah, they do record us with a camera. It's primarily, though, for lip tracking, so that they can see what our lips are doing for the English version and then animate to that, so they don't have us... So it doesn't always look dubbed the way the like the first one and I think most of, or some of two, looked. Right.
Makes a whole ton of sense and stuff. Obviously I am not in the biz and stuff, so I kind of find it, from my perspective, I find it hard. And I totally get what you're saying when you're like, oh, you don't want to have, Ray Chase's Master of Master energy, germinate over to you and possibly influence the lines of that specific scene. But I feel it kind of like, hard in my perspective. Obviously, I'm not a voice actor, so I don't have any type of traction in this. To, voice a character, create a type of conversation or set up a conversation in which, the person I'm talking with is not really there and stuff. Did you feel like probably early on in your career, did you feel like you had to get over that, or what was your way of getting over a hump like that?
Yeah, so fortunately we usually get the context lines, so it'll be like my line, the other character's line, and then my line, and so I can actually, between takes, read what the other character is saying to get a feel for what I'm really responding to, so that my instincts are a little bit more on the ball, and then the director, will like focus and adjust the performance so that it's exactly what they need. But there is a technical term for this, a crazy person. So I will typically walk around talking to myself when nobody's home, like for hours, all day long, having weird conversations. And yeah, so no, me talking to myself and standing in a room and talking at nobody is very normal for me because I have some kind of mental problem, and that's how that works.
It's practice.
Sure, it's not something I should have looked at. No, look at all those Pog emotes.
Yeah, I see a bunch
of
Pogger emotes because Hypertext just gifted the stream 10 subs. Actually, 9 subs. See, I can't even count. Yo, Hypertext, thank you so much for the support. I'm sure Ben support. See, I can't even think straight, man. Your sub nuke has me like twisted on the 5th dimension. But when it comes to other aspects of the 5th dimension, I'm trying to get back into the groove here.
Oh, wait. That
yes.
reminds me. I have a question for you.
Let's go.
Okay. Because this is a Kingdom Hearts question, and I think I accidentally answered this question correctly to my wife, but I want you to tell me if I was right or wrong. Can young Xehanort go forward in time, or can he only go back in time and pull people from the past?
Okay. So, the way I understand... Oh, man. Benjamin Diskin. All right, so the way I understand...
Did I just open up a can of worms?
Wait, say it again?
Did I just open up a can of worms? Do I just get to sit here for like 10 minutes of silence?
It requires a good chunk of like understanding within perspective when it comes to time travel. And time travel is such a mess to deal with. So... I was about to say, so Benjamin Diskin can only travel... No, so young Xehanort is only able to travel as far as his most current self, right? And his most current self would be eldest old man Xehanort. That's why, anything beyond Master Xehanort's sight is beyond that of young Xehanort's sight, right?
Gotcha.
Young Xehanort was able to travel through time without giving up his body because Ansem, who is also Xehanort, did it for him already. So basically that power, was spread across all other Xehanorts. But when it comes to the notion of moving forward in time, according to Kingdom Hearts rules, you can only move forward in time as much as your current self is able to naturally. The reason why young Xehanort is able to zip back and forth as far as, as he's able to interact with his older self is because his older self acts as the conduit, the limit to how far he can time travel. That is the most current self, the most present self. So that's, basically that.
Well, now wait a second then. Does that mean, theoretically, he could go into the future and see how he dies?
Well, he kind of does. Well, see, that's the whole deal with the flow of time, right? Like, let's use Master Xehanort as a marker, right? Mm-hmm. The flow of time is constantly at the same speed as Master Xehanort ages, goes through time, and whatnot. At the point in time that young Xehanort possibly is messing around in Dream Job Distance or whatever, the time is still current to Master Xehanort. So it's not like, okay, we know, thanks to Kingdom Hearts 3, we know Master Xehanort will exist all the way up to Kingdom Hearts 3 until his death as Scala ad Kylum. But at that point in time, Master Xehanort still doesn't know that until it happens. So until the moment happens in real time for Master Xehanort to die or to get to that point, young Xehanort can't go beyond that until it happens. And by the time it happens, it's too late for young Xehanort already, because he already got defeated before Master Xehanort. So
yes, and got sent back in time with no memory of all the stuff, because that's how time travel works. You can't change the past.
Exactly, yep.
Okay.
And so that's, I hope I made sense of that.
Yes, you actually did. I did get that.
Awesome. Were you correct or were you off? When you
I was off. I told her that I can't go forward in time, but clearly I technically could. But now I guess theoretically speaking, if I went forward in time to wherever Master Xehanort currently is in time, he couldn't tell me hey man, don't forget to turn the oven off because your house burns down like 2 years ago, and then I take that information back in time and turn the oven off because that would be changing the past.
Right,
I wouldn't remember him saying that stuff. Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's super no no.
So, I just gotta let my whole house burn down. Thanks, old man me.
Oh,
gotcha.
Master Xehanort, how could you do this to him? So,
I'm too busy bothering Tara.
Was that your attempt?
that was my crappy Leonard Nimoy impression. Yes.
Oh man, the late great Leonard Nimoy. I tried to do a voice work. Let me rephrase. I tried to do voices, and I like to imitate some of my favorite characters. And when I just try to do the original Master Xehanort, my voice just gets so messed up because of how raspy and deep it is. So I'm like, oh, Master Terror. I can't just go beyond that. However, I can change my pitch tonality to high points because I don't know. Yesterday on stream, they kept telling me to bring this up on stream to you. This is not me telling hey man, come on, nudge someone, get me a job or just whatever. They wanted me to throw my Mickey voice at you, which a lot of people say, oh wow, you do pretty well, but I can't hold for more than, I would say, 5 minutes, because if I do, then my voice gets fucked up for a good minute. So my Mickey voice will go a little bit like this. What's up, guys? It's here at the 5th dimension. We're here with Benjamin Diskin, aka Young Xehanort, and make sure he doesn't nort your waifu, because he will, he has, and he'll do it again. So that's kind of what I was going. I know it's nowhere near on point, but
I mean, neither is mine, so don't worry.
Thank you. But I tried to get a peek into the mind. I'm like, bro, that's why I respect your work so much, because you have such insane rage. I'm like, you had Benjamin Diskin, and that's a meme I'm gonna bring up in a little bit. You have Young Xehanort, you have number 1, you have number 2, Joseph Joestar, you got Jack, Haida, Shiro, and then you're voicing characters like Gonzo. I'm like, bro, this guy is literally all over the place, and just that amount of range is that I know there's voice actors that have insane range, but I'm just, for me, it's unfathomable, but here you are sitting here.
It's all about playing, I mean, if anybody out there who wants to know how to extend their range, it's like stretching a muscle. It's go as
deep as you can, hold it as long as you possibly can,
and bring it as high as you possibly can up into the falsetto, and then if you can get even higher than that, and you start pinching pixie, you make it all the way up here. And then it's okay, once you've gotten those 2 different ranges and you keep pushing them further and further,
excuse me?
You have more stuff.
Excuse me? I did not know you were able to get your voice that high.
Oh yeah. No, I also there's this show, not a lot of people watched it, but it was the 6th, I believe, season of Digimon. It's called Digimon Fusion. I basically used the number 2 / Gonzo voice for the main character, Shoutmon. And there's this little bunny character on it called Cutemon, and I kind of weirdly forced my way into playing that character by just going let me just play this character. Let me just do some scratch track for you. And they're like, all right, fine. And yeah, Cutemon just sounds like this. It's basically me squeezing 11 bejesus out of my vocal cords. And that's where that is. So that character just came from me just pulling and pulling and stretching, and that's what that is.
How is it that Digimon is able to find y'all who also voices characters in Kingdom Hearts that have insane amount of range? Because hearing you do that was I would have never ever expected that line from you, which is another story where I never ever expected Paul St. Peter. If you guys don't know this, Paul St. Peter is known for doing very, very deep, groveling, grouchy, low characters, right? Obviously, Xemnas from Kingdom Hearts, the announcer from Soul Calibur 5 and 6, Leomon from Digimon, Dioboromon from Digimon. But then he tells me his favorite role ever, which I'm about to ask you, his favorite role ever is Wormmon from Digimon. I'm like, excuse me, you're Wormmon? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, I would have never guessed it. This guy voices Kurama and Yami from Naruto and Bleach. And then I have Benjamin Diskin over here. And like, yeah, man, I'm cute. And I'm like, huh? So that's, yo, explosion. We're really diving deep into the 5th dimension now. So I already said it. Benjamin Diskin. Don't feel you have to answer a certain... Don't feel you have to give a certain answer on this Kingdom Hearts stream in which a Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind has just come out with the new game Kingdom Hearts 3, Kingdom Hearts Dark Road, focusing on a certain character. Who's your favorite character to voice, Benjamin Diskin?
Gosh, I wonder what, this certainly isn't leading the witness. My favorite character to play is Bryce Papenbrook, having been kicked in the balls. That is my all-time favorite character, and let me explain. So, for those of you who don't know, Bryce Papenbrook is the lead in several anime. He's most known for Sword Art Online, and he also plays Meliodas in a show I'm on called Seven Deadly Sins, where he kind of pitches the voice up for his character quite a bit to play this kind of young-looking guy who's actually like thousands of years old because it's anime. And my impression of him playing that character is just, "Hey guys, it's me, Bryce Papenbrook! Yeah, I just punched myself right where it counts, and now I'm ready to do anime! Hooray!" And that is my favorite voice to do, I guess. No, I'm just fucking with you.
You know, honestly, you sound like a character off of Ghost Stories when you did that. Like,
thank you, and hey, but no, yeah,
compliment, bro.
My favorite character currently, because guys, it changes all the time. It depends on like what we're doing. It's actually still Haida from Agretzko, because I just get to do what I'm doing right now, which is just talk and just be myself, and it's kind of a little vacation from work while still doing work. So I guess it's that. But yes, I do love Young Xehanort, and I do love Kingdom Hearts, and it's fun, and the community is pretty damn cool too.
Awesome. Yo, thank you so much for the kind words. And yes, Haida is actually, you know, if it's not for Young Xehanort, Haida is actually my favorite voice work from you. And I can't wait, because very recently we got the confirmation that season 3 of Agretzko is coming to Netflix August 24th? 27th? 27th. There, August 27th, and I cannot wait. So me and my fiance, we're huge fans of the show, and we're huge fans where you'll make sure we watch it in dub for Benjamin Diskin. So that leads into the meme where I was showing her the poster from the tweet that announced season 3, and we're looking at the characters, and we're like, oh, there goes Agretzko. Who's that? Oh, there goes Feneko. Who's that? And then she's like, who's that? And then we see you like huge in the background. It's like, oh, there goes Ben Diskin. And I'm like, the meme spills over to you, and then she does it now. Like, every time I'm playing Kingdom Hearts 3 Dream Drop Distance, every time Young Xehanort shows up, it's like, oh, there goes Ben Diskin. Like, especially with the North Court when I was streaming it yesterday, I was like, oh, now it's time to fight Ansem, Zemnis, and Benjamin Diskin. Like, there is no character. Every time Benjamin Diskin voices a character, there is no, it's Benjamin Diskin. It's not number 1, it's Benjamin Diskin. It's not number 2, it's Benjamin Diskin. It's not Haida, it's Benjamin Diskin. Like, as long as it's in a nice way, I don't mind it. You know, as long as it's not, oh great, there he is again. Like, as long as it's like, hey, it's that guy who I like. Then I'm fine with it. No. For me, when it comes to you, I'm like, listen, I'm gonna need you in more roles. Like, I was legit all over on Twitter pushing for you. I'm like, please let Dark Road be voiced. Please let Dark Road be voiced. Please. And I'm like, okay, it's a phone game. It's a mobile game. I get it. But wink, wink, if you're, you know, preparing for maybe like a cutscene or two for promotion for Dark Road, wink, wink, I would definitely enjoy hearing your work some more. But when it comes to various, you know, works, various ranges of works, you are also very, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm having a brain fart. Well, it was a word, but I'm just gonna, you know, rephrase it. You do many voice works when it relates to Spider-Man, in which you voiced Eddie Brock, aka Venom, quite a number of times in various series, and then you've also voiced characters, to my knowledge, Spider-Ham. I'm pretty sure you've done Flash Thompson in one of the series, and I just want to, you know, throw it out there. Do you consider yourself a huge Spider-Man fan?
Weirdly, Yes, but actually, when I was a kid, like around 12 or 13, 13, I, sorry, force a habit. That's
It's
for my
fine.
wife if she's listening. I actually was a big Venom fan. I loved that character, and I remember as a kid, like, designing my own superhero based on the symbiote from that. But so, like, and then I read, like, the Lethal Protector series, and I was like, ah. But the rest of the like, I watched all of the Spider-Man animated series in the 90s. I've been in, obviously, Spectacular Spider-Man, and so I've seen all of those episodes too. Also Spider-Man Unlimited and the MTV series. So, like, I love that character a lot. I think that he's one of the best written and best conceived characters, and not just the Peter Parker version, but like also the Miles Morales version. Like, there's so many different iterations of Spider-Man, and they do such a good job humanizing it. And like, that's why I like it, you know? It's like, I mean, you can have a really cool superhero with cool powers, but if you don't really care about their personality and their backstory, a lot of it doesn't really quite stay as exciting or interesting. But they do such a good job taking such an unusual set of powers, guy who like sticks to walls and ties people up in sticky rope, and they were like, we're gonna make this guy cool and relatable and interesting, and they did a really good job. And that's, yeah, so I do love Spider-Man. It's it.
Man, I Spider-Man hands down is my favorite comic book hero of all time. And, you know, I love Spider-Man, which is hilarious because I actually have arachnophobia. So, considering that, I'm like, man, it ain't that irony. And it's definitely, you know, I've seen all of your work. I've heard all of your work when it comes to, you know, the various Spider-Man series. And, you know, it's definitely not like I would love to hear your voice work in a certain game or a certain movie, which is a sequel to a certain game or a certain movie. Hint, hint. I would definitely love to see your work, hear your work in those particular forms of media. But when it comes to other roles, because I like skimming through your roles before, you know, dialing back to Kingdom Hearts and Young Xehanort. Like you said, one of your favorite roles and some of your most noble roles very recently deal with the canine variety when it comes to Haida in Agretzko, Jack in Beastars, and
Excuse me. Yeah. Technically, hyenas are their own separate category. They're Hyenidae, and they do not belong to the canine family. And I know this because furry Twitter has
done a very good job of educating me on many things.
It's funny because I'm glad you brought that up because it reminded me of a story where I was having a discussion with my fiance, and she was telling me that, you know, hyenas technically belong more to the feline category. That's right. And I'm looking at the hyenas, and I'm looking at a hyena picture. I'm like, bro, it's a laughing dog. I mean, like, what, like, but you know what I was getting. All right, so all right, let's rephrase canine. I'm taking the word canine out of the animalistic variety.
Cool.
Happy?
Yeah.
All right. Haida from Agretzko, Jack in Beastars, and Shoru in being a brand new animal. Now, when it comes to these very recent portrayals, when it comes to, I have to make sure I have to say this word right, anthropomorphic characters, right?
Correct.
There you go. All right, awesome. When it comes to those, how much, like, I know because I see your Twitter, I follow you like every day, in and out. I know you love these characters. How much fun do you have voicing these three particular characters? Because obviously, you know, people bunch them up together because, I mean, you know, you're voicing a walking, talking, human-like animal. So, what's your take on these three?
Well, so I feel like they come from three very different shows. And so they're distinctly different just in that nature right off the bat. Like Shiro from Brand New Animal is basically, he's an action hero is really what he is. And like that whole show is like super focused on cool animation and their stunning visuals and their insane action scenes and stuff like that. But like say, Jack in Beastars is effectively just a high school student. He's just a kid, and it's played very straight and very down to earth. We wanted a lot of grounded performances for that show because that's a very character driven show. It has action in it, but it's very much about about getting to know these characters and understanding their personal struggles. And interestingly, they all actually have that. Like, a lot of them haven't gotten a chance to be fleshed out yet in the series, but in the manga, they absolutely have. And then in Agretzko, the whole point of that show is relatability. So you can get a bit broader and cartoonier and more slapstick with some of the scenes. But at the end of the day, it's all about watching that and going, oh my God, I know somebody just like that, or oh my God, that's me. And so for Agretzko, it's really, I'm not playing a character. I'm just going, oh yeah, I remember how I was before I met my wife. And that's me right there. And it's just my voice. And a lot of the times it's my natural instinct of what to say and how to say it. Well, not what to say. We do have like actual scripted dialogue. But like Jack and Agretzko, it's all about, God dang it, I keep doing that. Jack in Beastars is all about just like getting to understand this like sweet, innocent boy who is actually, unbeknownst to a lot of people who only have seen the anime, dealing with a lot of pressure. And his sort of like awkward relationship with his best friend, who he keeps learning some very new and semi-disturbing things about, but trying to like still be there for him and be his pal. And then Shiro is kind of like the one who's like the most detached from reality, where he's like just straight up like grumpy all the time and just basically like, oh, just get the hell out of my way. I'm gonna beat the living crap out of this thing. This is what I do. Fuck off. So it's these three. They're anthropomorphic animals, but that's where the similarities honestly kind of end, and they go off in their own separate directions as guided by their own shows. Did that actually answer your question, or did I just go off on a weird ass tangent? I don't know.
Answered it perfectly. I'm like, yo, this man got range in vocals and range in emotion. Look at this.
Dang.
Yeah, Benjamin Diskin, everyone. Now going off the next part. When it comes to this, because this is a question, not really a question, but something I want to bring up before we dive back into Kingdom Hearts, is that these are all yes, Beastars, Agretzko, and BNA, they're all Netflix shows, and I want to make sure I got that right, because the tangent I wanted to go off on is that we have another Netflix show that has returned from the depths, that has taken the world by storm, literally, and that is Avatar: The Last Airbender. Now, if you guys don't know, and if I am remembering this correctly, our friend Benjamin Diskin voiced a character in the last Avatar, The Last Airbender. And okay, so you did, and I know which character it is.
Okay.
So it's, and I pointed out the SpongeBob meme is like, hey Gary, look, that's me. When I was watching it with my fiance, I'm like, hey, look, that's Ben. And that was the original fiance of Yue when Avatar Aang and the crew go to the North Pole. I forgot his name because his name wasn't important because he was Benjamin
His name was
Diskin.
Han, but yeah, that's okay.
Yeah. So when I'm like, because I didn't pick that up at first. Way back in the day, because it's definitely not anything against your work, but it's just like he was such a background character, like he came and gone, right? But then when coming back and I said, I'm like, hey, that's Ben, wow, like, and I was able to pick up and I'm like, yeah, that's him. So that's crazy. And
funny story about that. The reason that they hired me for that role is because I don't study Japanese, but I've just through all the anime, I've become kind of familiar with some of the pronunciation ideas and concepts. And his name, Sokka, is spelled Sokka. Because the show had an anime style to it, I thought it was pronounced Sokka, or Soka, with an American accent. So throughout my audition, I kept calling him Soka, and they thought it was funny that I was constantly butchering his name, and that's why they hired me to play the douchebag.
Hold up, I'm gonna stop you right there, because I remember that one scene where they're sharpening their weapons and it's like, all right, Sokka, and when I had to stop you right there, because I interpreted that scene as like, hey, listen, this character's a D-bag. Ben, I'm gonna need you to butcher Sokka's name in order to make him feel bad. You're telling me that is not the case? Mr.
No,
Diskin?
that's how I got the role, is by doing the wrong thing, thinking it was pronounced Soka. And I sent that in from my agency, so they didn't know. Nobody was there to be like, actually, It's pronounced Sokka. So that's why. And throughout the audition, it's just Soka this and Soka that. And they're like, oh my God, he's such a prick. Let's hire him.
That is amazing. Wow. Like, You just literally blew me back. Like, wow, crazy, bro. I'm sorry. All right, going back to Kingdom Hearts, young Xehanort and stuff. When it comes to you voicing this character and what he's done and all the lines you've done throughout Dream Drop Distance and Kingdom Hearts 3 and Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind, I'm pretty sure from what we've been talking about up until now, I want to assume that you have established, a sort of connection to this character, something that you're, very well known for, something that I feel you put your heart into.
Yeah.
When it comes to seeing this character possibly, not returning, but then we have the advent of Kingdom Hearts Dark Road, and then as it turns out, Melody of Memory is coming out this year, which is going to feature Apprentice Xehanort, who we all know is also voiced by Richard Epcar. So he's back. He's not going anywhere. But the current enemy known as Master Xehanort has passed. Would you want to continue your role as young Xehanort in any type of capacity going forward with Kingdom Hearts? And then to supplement that question, would you feel, considering from what you know with the story, would you feel that would be appropriate to keep on going with young Xehanort in any type of degree going forward?
Yes, I think. Well, first of all, the answer is yeah. I like working; it's good. So I would totally be down to return for young Xehanort. But like, oddly enough, I think, and this is not just me fishing for more work. So Square, if you're listening, that's not what this is about. Just from like
they have ears everywhere, just so you know. So
that's true, they do. Yeah. They're like, he knows. Don't say what the master's name is. I'm gonna come over there and kick your. Anyway, but what I think happens, because technically speaking, at some point he gets split in two to form Ansem and Xemnas, but that's actually Terranort. That's not Xehanort. Right. I think if young Xehanort, just as like Proto Xehanort, just keeps getting older, I think I should actually probably voice that to a certain point, like maybe into his 40s. It all depends on when he actually. Well, I guess no, because at a certain point he is old man Xehanort, and then he possesses Terra. So like at a certain point, I think it would get to be too old, and we'd need somebody who could transition into the older, like either Leonard Nimoy voice or at this point Christopher Lloyd voice, and still sound kind of similar to me. So we might need somebody in between both of us to do that. But I think just vocally speaking, I could get into like the 40s before it would start sounding a little too put on. So it all depends on really how far they would develop that character, if they even still want to, because I don't know what's going to happen in Dark Road. Like, I'm still just like grinding to get my level up so I can like get through the story stuff whenever that gets released. Sometime at the end of this month, I believe is the case, but as far as I know, it's still not out. So yeah, that's who knows. Based on whatever happens in Dark Road, we'll see.
Oh, I'm really excited because the way that Xehanort as a character, among his multiple selves, I love all forms of Xehanort because the way that the character is portrayed, by these strong voice actors and their strong actions within the game, just make me fall in love with these characters. And I really hate to see them go when Nomura has stated over and over again that with the end of Kingdom Hearts 3 will be the end of Xehanort, the end of the Xehanort saga. This will be the end of you fighting this particular enemy. He found a bit of a loophole with Kingdom Hearts Dark Road, which is, featuring young Xehanort front and center, where he states, and I agree with him, and I've, theorized that aspect, where, you're playing as Xehanort. You're looking through his eyes. He's not an enemy in this case. Kingdom Hearts all the way up to Kingdom Hearts 3 was dealing with him as an enemy. He's no longer an enemy, so I feel that's safe to portray him going forward, whether it be a flashback, whether it be him as a disembodied spirit. For all we know, Benjamin Diskin could literally become a star in the final world, and that's him chilling. And then, he has to, give Sora his infinite wisdom on how, hey, listen, everything sucks. Your friends are gonna die. The light is bad. Just turn to the darkness and you'll just feel A-okay. With a big smile on his face, laughing from the grave. But when it comes to that specific tangent in, the overall love of Kingdom Hearts, I already know, and if you guys don't know, Benjamin Diskin, his wife, Miss Heather, is a gigantic fan of Kingdom Hearts. I want to say that she's even a bigger fan than you, Mr. Diskin.
Oh, absolutely.
And, I just want to ask you a question that, applies to you and applies to her. Have either of you survived Zora yet?
Yes. Well, not her. When it gets to the really, really tough stuff, I have to take over. But yes, I did beat Zora. I believe it was just standard mode though, and like level 99. And it took. I used aerial like a lot, but yes, I did.
Man,
eventually.
you know when people say like using links or aerial or anything like that, they're like, "Oh, you choose the fight." Hey, listen. They're available to us to use. All right, they come with a hefty cost. It takes up your whole MP bar, and I don't see y'all complaining about how you had to cheese, getting the final level up for limit form by cheesing it with Stitch, or Chicken Little when cheesing the Coliseum in Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix. Y'all didn't complain then. I don't want to hear y'all complaining it now. All right, I defeated Zora using aerial. Ben defeated Zora using aerial. So,
listen, we cannot all be Storalum 1. We're not all on that level of just like level 1 crit. Let's go for like
exactly.
days.
We're not all of us. We're not the machine Dean. We're not Dean the machine. All right.
Yeah.
So you need to understand that.
But yeah,
now that
I mean, for me, I think that's how I beat like the freaking. Oh, what is it? It's Terra's armor in Kingdom Hearts 2, Final Mix. Like, I had to just cheese the crap out of him to win. I at a certain point, I'm like, this isn't fun. This is too hard. Screw it. How do I win? Okay. Lingering will. Thank you. Yes.
Man, I don't feel bad for people cheesing fights, because, Kingdom Hearts produces some really strong fights when they're put together well. And I feel it's not your fault, Ben. This is not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. But that's like the one stain on the character of young Xehanort, because his secret boss fight in Birth by Sleep was so poorly designed. Fuck that boss fight. Never again. I beat that dude like twice. Never again. Yo, you catch me streaming Birth by Sleep ever, and you think I'm gonna go and try to beat the mysterious figure on stream? You got me twisted, alright? I will never face that boss again in my life. So, going off of that, since you survived Zora, and, I consider both of you surviving Zora, as part of a thank you for being on the stream, I want to send you and Heather some I Survived Zora shirts. So
what?
We're gonna talk about that. And I still, it's funny because I don't know if you remember that message. I still have the stuff for you and Heather from Japan that I have to send to you.
Oh, I totally forgot you were gonna get us something. Oh my god,
it's still sitting there. I still have it, so I got you. All right, it's gonna be great.
So cool.
All right, so after the stream, or I know you have someplace to be after this. So shoot me a message or shoot me a message, whatever comes first. When it comes to Zora as a character, I want to get your piece when it comes to him as a character and then him as his voice work. When it comes to, as we all know, it turns out he's voiced by Dylan Sprouse, aka Zach, from The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody. That actually blew me back, because that was like the biggest mystery for the longest, and I'm not sure if you knew at any point who Zora's voice actor was, because we did get that trailer that leaked, evidently, and we heard Zora for the first time ever, and a lot of people were really going off the wild assumption that maybe, just maybe, because you look at the character and you obviously put one and one together. It's like, man, that kind of reminds me of Noctis. And a lot of people, went off the wild tangents, like possibly being voiced by Ray Chase. But Ray Chase already voices the Master of Masters, and as we all know, Ray Chase voices Noctis, Lucius, Kylam. As it turns out, Zora in English is voiced by Dylan Sprouse, and in Japanese, I keep forgetting the Japanese voice actor, but I do know that is the same voice actor that voices Denki in Boku no Hero, voices Zora in Japanese. When it comes to his voice work and his character, I want to, know your take and how you perceive this character, of how strong, because you fought him, obviously. Yeah. And that's basically like the biggest question going forward with Kingdom Hearts. How do you feel about his character? How do you feel about what you get from Dylan Sprouse's portrayal of him, and that he doesn't use the darkness, he doesn't use the light, he uses something more along the lines of magic technology. He's like a technomancer. He messes around with reality and stuff. Going forward with the Kingdom Hearts series, how do you what is your take on that whole, I would say, mess of things?
honestly, like, because I remember when we first saw Yozora in Kingdom Hearts 3, and I was like, that's so clever. It's a video game. That's cute. And it's kind of, it's like, I remember Final Fantasy Versus 13. And I'm like, that's so clever. I did not, in my wildest imagination, suddenly expect to see it's actually a real person in a real alternate reality, possibly related somehow to the I'm trying to blank on his name, but you know what I mean? A card guy.
Yeah.
What? And it's So I want to know what Nomura is going to do with this, because that is a turn I did not see coming at all. And the fact that you fight him in this game, I'm like, holy crap. And he's like this badass, but maybe he's also a soldier or a prince, kind of like Noctis. What is going on? It's so cool. And Dylan's performance as him is this very grounded, real, like, no shits given, like, I'm a real person sound. It's not, I am an anime protag character. It's not that. It's like, hey man, what's up? How's it going? That's how he sounds. And you're just like, this doesn't really seem like it fits in with Kingdom Hearts at all. Is this a new series and this is a teaser for it? Is this going to be the lead in Kingdom Hearts 4? Are we going to play as him rescuing Sora? What the heck is going on? And so, like, I have more questions than I have answers, to be perfectly honest with you. I just want to see where this series is going and what Nomura is going to do. Is he going to bring back The World Ends With You and somehow plug that in because it takes place in Japan too? What the heck is going on? So yeah, that my answer is just more questions. So, like, I'm just as lost as everybody else.
Right, man. I spent so much time putting this all together, trying to see if I can make heads or tails of what is happening or what is the future of Kingdom Hearts. But that was a tangent that, I want to bring up Yozora to you because I want to bring up a type of, I would say, trinity that I feel is bonded between the three characters, thanks to your voice work specifically when it comes to young Xehanort, right? And that is that,
okay.
At first, going forward with Kingdom Hearts, the way that you portrayed young Xehanort, and from what you told me, your understanding of what the character is, which gives me such great insight, is that, Sora, at first, before Zora, stepped into the picture, Sora and young Xehanort in his youth, around the age of, 15, then up to 18, 20, is that, they were polar opposites. They were the people that, stood on the opposite ends of the room, negative and positive, yin and yang, and that whole comparison and contrast was such a beautiful thing for me to see in Kingdom Hearts, thanks to your portrayal, that, like, this is Sora. He, believes in the light. He believes in power that is granted to him through his connections that he gains through others, that he welcomes others into his heart. And then you have a character like young Xehanort, who, his glimmer of light has faded. He bathes himself in the darkness. And as we've seen in Dark Road, he's gone through a huge traumatic experience that Sora did not go through in his youth. Sora had a happy upbringing. Young Xehanort, not so much. And,
clearly not.
Clearly not. And then he turns to the power of darkness. He gains strength from being alone, and he grants strength to others by invading their hearts. While Sora welcomes people into his heart, Xehanort invades other people's hearts. And, that whole, comparison of contrast, 7 and 13, it was such a great thing to see these characters, battle out in this epic battle between good and evil, light and darkness. And even all of that, thanks to the performance that you provide with young Xehanort, I really do feel in another time, in another place, in another universe, Sora and Xehanort really could have been friends.
Well, it's kind of like how he's friends with young Ericus, who is, obviously before he becomes grouchy old man Ericus, he's like this really, even in Dark Road, he's like the class clown. He's like kind of funny and like kind of a chicken. And you're like, what? So, like, I actually could see him like weirdly getting along with Sora. Maybe young Xehanort. Maybe not the Dream Drop Distance version, who's like just tired of everybody's crap.
Right.
But maybe like before he becomes so darn disaffected by like the light and people's happiness and their beliefs in their own strength and all that crap. I think he actually could get along with Sora.
Oh man. And in that tangent, that's why at first I believed it to be like, like a rule of two. Sora at one end, Xehanort on other end. But then when we come to Yozora, I feel he makes up the trinity of these three really important characters when it comes to the entire identity of Kingdom Hearts. And that, you know, although, you know, Kingdom Hearts obviously is about Sora defending the worlds, protecting the light, all that good jazz. In reality, up until now, Kingdom Hearts really has been Xehanort's story. You know, when you look at everything, you know, provided. Of course, you know, oh, but Sora's the main protagonist. That's true, but we don't always deal with Sora, you know, in terms of playing him in all of the games. What we do deal with in all of the games, and now through, you know, through association and an offshoot, Xehanort is really down and dirty with what goes on in Union Cross, as it turns out, he experienced everything that the player character does through his dreams in Dark Road, and that really bridges the entirety of the Xehanort saga together, in which it was his story the whole time. But then we come to Yozora. Yozora, when you compare him to both, you know, Xehanort and Sora, I feel Xehanort is literally the what would happen to Sora if Sora succeeded in leaving Destiny Islands when he really wanted to, right? Xehanort always wanted to leave, Sora always wanted to leave. Xehanort had that chance, Sora not so much. He was like kind of like, you know, forced into this whole grand adventure. But, you know, Xehanort went through the Dark Corridor, he became who he was because he had the chance to leave, but Sora did not have the chance. So that's kind of like, you know, the polar opposites of what's going for. However, when it comes to Yozora, from what we understand, this man and his, you know, portrayal, he comes from the exact opposite setting of both Xehanort and Sora. He comes from Shibuya. He comes from a grand city. You know, Xehanort and Sora were, you know, brought up on these boring islands, and then when they go to the mainland, we see little houses, not one skyscraper in sight. You know, Sora literally comes from nowhere. He's just a cheerful young boy. Yozora seems very stoic, but he has probably everything afforded to him. You know, like Ben said, is he a commander? Is he a prince? He definitely seems like someone in status. He has a car. He has a driver. Luke Sword is his driver. You know, it seems that he commands a lot. And, you know, that whole comparison contrast when it comes to these three characters just has me riddled with what Nomura is really planning for this series, and I'm all for it. And then that whole, I'm sorry if I went too far off on that tangent, but it really boils down to this, where I feel, you know, you were able to hit the nail on the nose in portraying the character of young Xehanort, in which, you know, the people who presented your lines, presented on how you should understand this character, how you should portray this character, really knew that whole, you know, origin stake, this whole idea of the identity of Xehanort in his youth, in order for you to portray him as, you know, brooding, someone who is, you know, dead on the inside. And, you know, it's all just an intricate chess match that Nomura is playing with all of us. You know, people who's, you know, playing the games, people who are providing the voices. He knew that, you know, young Xehanort had a very traumatic experience in his past. We didn't. We scoured the, you know, the Xehanort reports, and, you know, that type of information was provided to you when you decide to become this character. And I feel that's just like a huge, you know, avalanche of a tic-tac-toe effect. But, you know, I'm all for that. I just had to get that. I just had to get that all the way to y'all and to Ben.
No, it's
it's
totally,
yeah.
it's that's what it is, though. It's like, you know, this is, like, a lot of people think like Nomura just makes this stuff up on the fly, and he's just like, nope, now it's gonna be this. But I think what he basically does is he creates a giant grand scheme of things, and then like figures out how to put things in their place. And so some things are things that I think he probably changed because of the fans. Like, why is Axel still around? Because people like Axel. That's probably what that is. But like, aside from small stuff like that, it's more along the lines of like, he's like setting up this giant game that is like, you can only see little bits and pieces of it through various games, and then you can figure out what his grand story is. Because like, yeah, like you said, so like Sora is this character of just like pureness and kindness. He's always trying to see the good in people. But like in that little clip from Remind, you see that Xehanort is just like, there is no, like people just think they're great, but they think they have power, but they don't. And it's like, Jesus Christ, who hurt you, kid? And then we find out apparently something really horrible happened to him. But like, it's like these two different polar opposites. And then what I see from Yozora is this personality that seems kind of in the middle, almost like somebody who might be a good guy, could be a bad guy, and is like balancing out the good and the light and dark within himself to try to see where he's going to go. Like he's another walks the road to dawn kind of guy, kind of like what Raikou did, but maybe even more so because he's so neutral. That's like what I get from his vocal performance, his voice, and the direction they seem to be going with him is like you have the good guy, the bad guy, and then I'm kind of in the middle and I don't really know where to go. And it's that kind of, it's those three things combined, what I would love to see, and I know it's probably completely not going to happen, is going to be like a new game where you can play as Zora, somehow young Xehanort brought into that world, and Zora, and the three of them team up to go fight the real bad guy of the game thing, whoever that is. That's what I'd like to see.
Stop.
But I have no knowledge whatsoever of
Stop.
like.
I can only get so erect. Stop. Okay. So,
ow, my eye! HMK, put that away. God.
Stop. So, okay. Now, you've been so great on this stream. Now, I know you have someplace to be. So, for the last 10 minutes of the stream, I want to do something. I feel it will be a really cool, funny idea. Of course, if you are completely down with it. What I would like to do is for 10 minutes, I would like to shoot funny random questions over to not Benjamin Diskin, but young Xehanort. If you could respond to these questions in a way that you feel that young Xehanort will respond, would that be okay with you?
Let's try it. We'll see what happens.
Okay.
I'll do my best not to get fired from Disney.
Okay, no, trust me, I will not set up a situation for him. All right, guys, here comes the young Xehanort Q&A. Young Xehanort, first question. What is young Xehanort's favorite band?
Oh, my favorite band would easily be My Chemical Romance. The Black Parade. It speaks to me.
How did I... I'm sorry. All right. Young Xehanort, what is your favorite fast food?
Oh, well, actually, my favorite fast food, is Del Taco at like 3 in the morning, because they're always open. That drive-thru is spotless, and I can get all of my tacos, my chicken soft tacos, my flatbread tacos. They're always in stock, and I just really respect them for that. Nothing about darkness, just gotta love Del Taco.
I gotta let you know right now that when you get the chance, when all of this is over, you should definitely check out if you can find a place called either Roberto's or Ernesto's. If you like Del Tacos, that's gonna blow them out of the water. Okay, next question.
Yes.
Young Xehanort, what is your favorite video game other than Kingdom Hearts?
Oh, let's see. Well, my favorite video game is it's hopefully getting remade. It was the Legacy of Kain series. Soul Reaver, the original one, was my absolute favorite. It was on the PlayStation 1, and I absolutely enjoyed being Raziel, the vampire who comes back from the dead, even though vampires are, I guess, technically already dead. But yes, that's what it would be Legacy of Kain.
Interesting. Next question, Mr. Young Xehanort. Who would win in a fight between you and the other Norts?
Oh, well, let's see. Me, because I'm Proto-Nort, baby. And if you get in my way, I'll kill you. Well, no, I honestly, to be real with you, it would probably be Xemnas, because he'd start talking and I would just get distracted and go, oh, okay. I wish I had that kind of a cool voice. When do I get that when I grow up? So yeah, I'd say Xemnas would probably beat me.
Interesting. I'm gonna have to relay that over to Paul. Okay. Next question, Mr. Sexy Young Xehanort.
Ooh, yes.
What is your favorite Pokemon?
Oh, my favorite Pokemon is Houndoom. He is a dark type, duh, but also he is such a good boy. And I just want to pet him and kiss his silly head and avoid the horns, but he seems like a really good boy, so yes, Houndoom.
Houndoom. Cute Pokemon, garbage stats. Next up.
Hey, do not speak that way about my boy. Anyway, go on.
Yes. If you had a choice, young Xehanort, which Infinity Stone would you use?
I mean, you know the obvious one.
Oh,
is the Time
other than
Stone?
time. All right. Other than
Okay.
time. Other than time. You caught me.
Oh.
You got me. There you go.
Yeah, let's see. I would say the Soul Gem, just because I don't really know exactly what it does, and I think that requires further experimentation, and that's always been a bit of my thing.
His thing. Okay. All right. Next one. Young Xehanort.
Yes.
What is your favorite alcoholic beverage? Note, what is your favorite alcoholic beverage? Not Benjamin Diskin's favorite alcoholic beverage.
Don't worry, he has terrible taste. Something about nipples. I don't even want to. Ugh. My favorite would probably be coffee liqueur. That's what it is. I just drink it straight. No, actually, I don't, because I'm underaged. So therefore, I don't have any drink. Nice try. You're trying to get me in trouble with the cops. Well, guess what? I can time travel away from them, so meh.
But can't you time travel to get old enough to drink? Anyway.
Well, okay. I mean, listen, time is but a number, an illusion, and all that stuff. But yeah, I guess dark coffee, okay? It's not an alcoholic drink, but there you go. Espresso.
Dope. Mr. Benjamin Diskin. Oh, no.
Yes.
Let me rephrase. Mr. Young Xehanort, I am so sorry.
Oh.
See, no, the meme is real. The curse is real. All right. What character, who is your main in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate?
Oh, let's see. My main in Smash... Gosh, I don't really have one, but I do enjoy watching Little Mac players because I get such great schadenfreude as they side B right off the edge of the platform constantly. So really, I'm more of a spectator in that, but yeah, there you go. I don't necessarily have a main, but I guess I'll say Diddy so that people who played in tournaments will respect me more, but I don't actually know how to play him.
Oh, man. You really need to channel that Link. Link is the best character in this game. All right. Mr. Young Xehanort.
Yes.
What is your favorite Disney movie?
My favorite Disney movie is The Black Cauldron. It's so dark. Oh, yes. It's an underrated gem. People are like, it's very good. They don't know anything. That movie's so... it's beautiful. The animation, the plot, the darkness.
Thank you. I needed that. I needed that.
You're welcome.
Mr. Young Xehanort.
Yes.
What games are you currently playing? It can be any game when it comes to old, new, or whatever console.
Well, I mean, I'm currently playing Dark Road. Thank God for the BlueStacks emulator. I can have it running on my PC and leveling up all night long. But if you mean, what game am I playing, playing? Let's see. I am currently in the process of playing Perfect Dark. This is where I would improv about Perfect Dark, but other than the title, I don't actually know anything about the game.
It's a great game. It's a spiritual successor to GoldenEye after Rare lost the rights to 007 to EA. So yeah, consider that.
Quite nice. Dang, maybe I should play that.
Oh yeah, such a good game, such a good game. Speaking of games, what is Young Xehanort's favorite board game?
Oh, my favorite board game is Monopoly, and I play it because I love torturing my friends. I don't actually have any thanks to Monopoly. That's how I keep them away.
Ooh, that's You
think it would be like Risk or something, but no, it's the most torturous one to play. Yeah.
Oh, Risk is great. I love Risk. Next question. Mr. Young Xehanort.
Yes.
Please describe your perfect date.
Well, my perfect date would be just, a lovely moonlight walk on the beach of the dark world and the dark ocean and, getting down on one knee and telling her how she's the only true darkness that can fill me with light. And then she says, leave me alone, I don't know who you are, because she's somebody that I probably kidnapped, because that's kind of a thing that I sort of do, kinda. So there you go. That's That's my perfect first date.
Okay, that's great. Now, final question for
Yes.
Mr. Young Xehanort. If you were to start up a YouTube/Twitch channel, how would you create an intro? Go.
Without swearing? Oh boy. Yo, it's your boy, Young Zizzle. Welcome to my stream. Thank you for all the resubs and all of the bits and bitcoins, or however the heck Twitch works. I'm here to play Drakengard 3, and I really hope you guys like this. It's a personal favorite of mine, and here we go. How was that?
That was perfect. I'm about to use that as a reference to create a new intro. But man, oh man, I gotta say, Ben, thank you so much for being on this stream. I know that you got some place to be, and I don't want to keep you, so that's why I want to, let you go off to the wind with some time under your belt. But I've had an incredibly fun time on the Fifth Dimension with you, and I hope you did as well.
I did. Thank you for having me here in the Fifth Dimension. I don't.
Every time someone has to like break it down like that. Guys, I hope you had an amazing time with me and my guest Benjamin Diskin on this very special episode, the 13th episode of the Fifth Dimension. Of course, you can check out Benjamin Diskin and just bask in all of his works, in his various works that include that of Kingdom Hearts, well actually Dream Drop Distance, Kingdom Hearts 3, Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind, and his current works right now that you can catch him on Netflix. Man, I am just like sweating. You can catch him on Netflix, voicing certain characters such as Haida on Agretsuko, Jack on Beastars, and Shoru on Brand New Animal, BNA.
Yeah.
There you go. I did it. I was able to do it. Among other things, he voices a ton of other awesome roles, and you can check him out in all of those awesome portrayals. I hope you guys had a really good time. This stream will be going live on YouTube tomorrow in order for it not to get deleted by Twitch, and I hope you guys had a wonderful time. So,
thank you guys so much.
Oh, thank you so much for being here. So, until the next episode, next week, we go live every Friday, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on the Fifth Dimension. Until the next episode, next Friday, this has been HMK and Mr. Benjamin Diskin. And we will check you guys later.
Thank you guys so much. Bye.